The path to financial freedom: how to break free from consumerism and find inner wealth. Number 1. Self-control over desire. The first step on the path to financial freedom is mastering self-control over our desires. In a world inundated with messages encouraging us to buy more, achieve more, and be more, it's easy to lose sight of what truly brings happiness. Desire itself isn't the problem. It's the uncontrolled chase for more without reflection that leads to discontent and financial strain. Self-control teaches us to pause and reflect before acting on impulses. When we are mindful of our desires, we make intentional decisions that align with our values and long-term goals, rather than being swept away by fleeting wants. It's about distinguishing between what we need to live a fulfilled life and what we are conditioned to desire by external pressures. A story to illustrate this comes from an ancient fable. A young boy, constantly wanting more toys, saw his neighbor with a new shiny object. He begged his parents for it, even though he already had plenty of things to play with. His wise grandfather, observing his impatience, told him, "True happiness comes not from collecting, but from cherishing what you already have." The boy, after a moment of reflection, realized that his joy was fleeting whenever he got something new, but enduring happiness came from enjoying the simple things he already possessed. Through this story, we see how unchecked desires can cloud our judgment, leading to unnecessary spending and dissatisfaction. Self-control helps us appreciate what we have and live with intention. When we curb our desires, we discover contentment not in acquiring more, but in being present with what we already have. This practice of moderation is the first step toward financial freedom and inner peace. Number 2. Value simplicity. In the pursuit of financial freedom, simplicity is often overlooked, yet it holds the key to finding true wealth. In a consumer-driven world, we are constantly encouraged to accumulate more possessions, more luxuries, more status symbols. However, this relentless pursuit often leads to a life burdened with complexity and dissatisfaction. Instead of being liberated by the things we own, we often find ourselves shackled to them, spending time and energy maintaining, protecting, and worrying about what we possess. Embracing simplicity means choosing a life that is not weighed down by excess. It is the understanding that happiness is not found in an accumulation of material goods, but in the freedom to live with less, to focus on what truly matters. When we value simplicity, we consciously choose to free ourselves from the distractions that consumerism brings, allowing us to focus on personal growth, meaningful relationships, and the things that truly enhance our well-being. Simplicity in a financial context means making deliberate choices about where to allocate resources, time, money, and energy. It requires asking ourselves if the things we buy, the experiences we seek, and the lifestyles we live are truly aligned with our values and long-term goals. By simplifying our desires and focusing on what we need rather than what we want, we gain control over our financial situation and find ourselves with more time, energy, and clarity. This mindset shift encourages us to find contentment with less, fostering an appreciation for the simple pleasures of life, like good company, quiet moments, and meaningful work. In the process, we strip away the excess that clouds our lives and discover that true wealth is not the abundance of material goods, but the richness of a life lived simply and purposefully. Number 3. Distinction between needs and wants. One of the fundamental skills on the path to financial freedom is the ability to distinguish between what we truly need and what we merely want. In today's world, it is easy to confuse the two, as advertising, social pressure, and our own desires constantly push us to acquire more. However, understanding this distinction is crucial if we are to break free from the cycle of consumerism and achieve lasting contentment. Needs are those things that are essential for our survival and well-being. They include food, shelter, clothing, and health. These are the bare necessities that allow us to function in the world. Wants, on the other hand, are those things that go beyond basic necessity. They are driven by desire, often fueled by external influences or the fleeting pursuit of pleasure. While wants can bring temporary satisfaction, they rarely lead to lasting happiness or fulfillment. To develop financial freedom, we must ask ourselves critical questions before making purchases. Do I truly need this, or is this a desire that can be put aside? This practice encourages intentionality in our financial decisions and helps us resist the pressure to indulge in every passing want. By recognizing that many of the things we desire are not essential, we can reduce our impulse spending and focus on what is truly important. Learning to differentiate between needs and wants also empowers us to make better choices for our future. By prioritizing our needs and cutting back on unnecessary wants, we are able to allocate our resources more effectively, saving money and investing in things that bring long-term value. In doing so, we foster financial stability, reduce stress, and ultimately create more room for the things that truly matter in life. Number 4. Mindful consumption. In the pursuit of financial freedom, one of the most powerful practices we can adopt is mindful consumption. In an era where we are constantly bombarded with advertisements, sales pitches, and the pressures of modern society, it is easy to fall into the trap of mindlessly accumulating goods. We often buy things not out of necessity but out of habit, convenience, or the fleeting desire to keep up with trends. Mindful consumption calls for a pause, a moment of reflection, and an intentional approach to how we spend our money and energy. Mindful consumption begins with awareness. It requires us to slow down and examine each purchase we make, asking ourselves whether it serves a real need or simply fulfills a transient desire. It involves questioning the motivations behind our spending decisions. Are we purchasing because we truly need the item? Or are we influenced by advertising, peer pressure, or emotional impulses? By cultivating this level of awareness, we are able to distinguish between what is essential and what is superfluous. Mindful consumption encourages quality over quantity. Instead of purchasing cheap, disposable items that offer only temporary satisfaction, we focus on buying fewer, higher-quality goods that will last longer and add true value to our lives. This not only saves money over time, but also helps reduce the environmental and mental burden of excess. Mindful consumption also involves aligning our spending with our values. We begin to ask ourselves, does this purchase align with the life I want to live? For example, rather than spending on luxury items or status symbols, we might choose to invest in experiences that enrich our personal growth, well-being, or relationships. By making more thoughtful decisions in our consumption habits, we move closer to a life of financial freedom, unburdened by unnecessary possessions or waste. Number 5. Embrace moderation. The path to financial freedom is not paved with extremes, but rather with the balanced approach of moderation. In a world that often promotes either excessive indulgence or extreme frugality, moderation offers a middle ground that allows us to live comfortably while maintaining control over our finances. It is the practice of finding a healthy balance between spending and saving, enjoying life's pleasures without falling into the trap of excess or deprivation. Moderation means avoiding both the pitfall of overspending and the temptation to hoard resources out of fear. It encourages us to enjoy what we have, but not to let it dominate our lives or define our happiness. When we embrace moderation, we make thoughtful choices about our financial habits. Whether it's buying fewer but more meaningful possessions or treating ourselves to small pleasures without the need for constant consumption. Moderation is understanding that wealth is not about the accumulation of possessions or luxuries. It's about making deliberate choices that align with our values and long-term goals. By avoiding extremes in spending and saving, we prevent ourselves from being swept away by short-term desires or anxieties about the future. We recognize that our financial well-being is the result of consistent, balanced decisions that are grounded in wisdom, not impulsiveness. Moderation also extends to how we view money itself. It is not the end goal but a tool, a means to support our values, goals, and the lifestyle we wish to create. By embracing moderation in our financial decisions, we can build a life that is sustainable, fulfilling, and free from the constant pressure to either acquire more or sacrifice too much. In doing so, we cultivate peace of mind and a sense of control over our financial destiny. Number 6. Financial independence as freedom. Financial independence is often misunderstood as the accumulation of vast wealth. But in truth, it is the ability to live according to one's values and desires without being dependent on external forces. The essence of financial independence lies not in how much money we have, but in the freedom it provides. Freedom to make choices based on our principles rather than out of necessity or societal pressure. Achieving financial independence requires a shift in mindset, from the pursuit of wealth for its own sake to the recognition that money is merely a tool to enable a more fulfilling life. It involves making deliberate decisions about saving, investing, and managing resources in a way that supports long-term goals, rather than succumbing to short-term desires. When we prioritize financial independence, we focus on building sustainable wealth that offers the freedom to live authentically, without being controlled by consumerism or the demands of others. Financial independence provides us with the freedom to engage with life's deeper purposes. It enables us to seek work that aligns with our passions and values, rather than working solely to pay bills. It encourages us to invest in experiences and relationships that nourish our well-being, rather than wasting time chasing status symbols or material possessions. Financial independence is not about accumulating wealth, but about creating a life that is truly our own, defined by choice, freedom, and purpose. Number 7. Gratitude over greed. Gratitude helps us recognize the abundance in our lives, regardless of how much or how little we own. It encourages us to appreciate the simple things: a roof over our heads, good health, meaningful relationships, and opportunities for growth. When we practice gratitude, we begin to shift our mindset from one of scarcity, where we always feel like something is missing, to one of abundance, where we recognize the richness of what we already have. This perspective fosters a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy, independent of external circumstances. Greed keeps us focused on what we don't have, leading to dissatisfaction and an insatiable desire for more. This endless pursuit can result in stress, financial strain, and an overall sense of emptiness, as we continually look outside ourselves for validation and happiness. By practicing gratitude, we counterbalance this tendency, allowing us to feel content and at peace with what we have, rather than perpetually striving for something beyond our reach. Gratitude also helps us make wiser financial decisions. When we learn to appreciate what we already have, we are less likely to fall prey to impulsive buying or unnecessary consumption. We no longer seek material possessions as a means of filling an emotional void, but instead recognize that true wealth lies in the peace and contentment that comes from living with appreciation and purpose. Number 8. Focus on virtue over wealth. In the journey toward financial freedom, it is essential to understand that true success is not defined by the accumulation of wealth, but by the cultivation of virtue. Wealth, in and of itself, does not bring lasting happiness or fulfillment. Instead, it is the pursuit of virtuous living, grounded in wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, that provides the foundation for a truly rich life. When we prioritize virtue over wealth, we shift our focus away from material possessions and external achievements, and instead invest in qualities that contribute to our personal growth and integrity. Wisdom guides us in making sound decisions, whether in our finances or in our relationships. Courage allows us to stand firm in our values, even in the face of temptation or societal pressure. Justice encourages us to act with fairness and empathy, not only toward others but also in how we manage our resources. Temperance helps us maintain balance and avoid excess, allowing us to live within our means and appreciate what we have. By focusing on virtue, we recognize that our true wealth lies in the quality of our character, not the quantity of our possessions. Virtuous living leads to greater peace of mind, stronger relationships, and a deeper sense of purpose. When we live according to our values, we are less likely to be swayed by the fleeting desires that often drive consumerism. Instead of seeking fulfillment through material goods or financial success alone, we find contentment in aligning our actions with what is meaningful and important. Financial freedom is not measured by how much money we have, but by our ability to live with integrity, purpose, and wisdom. The pursuit of virtue leads to a life that is rich in meaning and satisfaction, providing a true form of wealth that money cannot buy. Number 9. Time as the most valuable asset. This perspective shifts our approach to finances as well. Rather than measuring success solely by the size of our paycheck or bank account, we begin to measure it by the freedom we have to use our time as we see fit. Financial independence, in this light, becomes less about accumulating wealth and more about having the autonomy to spend our time doing what we love. Whether that's pursuing passion projects, traveling, learning, or nurturing relationships. Valuing time encourages us to be more intentional with our choices. We begin to ask ourselves how our daily activities contribute to our broader sense of purpose and fulfillment. By treating time as a finite and precious resource, we cultivate mindfulness in our decisions, ensuring that our time is spent in ways that enrich our lives and bring us closer to the freedom we seek. Number 10. Resilience against external circumstances. This resilience extends beyond finances. It also applies to how we handle the ups and downs of life in general. When we develop inner fortitude, we stop relying on external validation, possessions, or circumstances to determine our happiness. Instead, we focus on building an internal foundation based on virtue, gratitude, and the understanding that our worth is not defined by what we have or lose. When we cultivate resilience, we are no longer at the mercy of external events. We regain control over our reactions and decisions, empowering ourselves to move forward with a sense of clarity and purpose, regardless of what happens around us. This resilience enables us to remain grounded, stay focused on what truly matters, and continue on the path toward financial freedom, even when faced with challenges. The path to financial freedom is not solely about accumulating wealth, but about mastering the art of self-control, practicing simplicity, and embracing virtues that bring true fulfillment. By distinguishing between needs and wants, consuming mindfully, and prioritizing gratitude, we break free from consumerism and create a life rooted in purpose and peace. Financial independence, rooted in resilience and the proper use of time, empowers us to live authentically and with integrity. Good luck on your journey to financial freedom, and thank you for taking the time to reflect on these principles. May you find both external and inner wealth in all your endeavors.